All right, hi everybody. It's Tuesday, September 23rd. It's 12:29, 12:30 p.m. And I just wanted to start documenting uh, elements, the human factors elements and the critical analysis elements of this little project here that I introduced in the last video. So just to remind you, I'm taking my original form heuristic, that is starting with the self, then getting an original source material, original form, taking that source material, which in my case right now is an audio recording of a Lebanese composition, an art song, piano and voice. So I'm using a recording as the original form. And then my mom and I, who are the two performers, are idealizing the original. So we're listening to it, we're learning it, we are putting our own little spin on it. And then the ideal form that we'll create based on the original form is then, you know, utilized during the live performance moment, and that's called the expression nucleus, right? So that's when my mom and I are going to create this sort of field around us, which is the field of performance within which all of these elements are interacting. So the idea is here, as I want to document some of the critical incidences and the human factors components before we get too far along in the process. So one of the first things coming up, human factors wise, at home, I'm practicing on an electronic keyboard that has weighted keys. I think it's an old Yamaha keyboard, Casio or something. I don't know. Anyway, it's electronic, and the keys have weight, but it's not great, right? They're kind of strangely sprung, and it's kind of weird. So that's a human factors element that introduces opportunities for incidences of anomaly to occur. From there, also, because I'm practicing at home on this digital keyboard, I don't really have a good stand for it. So I've actually been standing up while playing and learning the piece, which will be a lot different than what happens when we take the stage. In the authentic performance, right, in the live performance, I'll be sitting on a piano bench at a grand piano. So instantly we can start recognizes that if we're exploring sources of anomaly, the human factors side of things is that a performer might rehearse and practice on one instrument and then they perform on a different instrument. And if you've ever touched an instrument, a musical instrument, you know that every single one of them is different. In some sense, they have different personalities, but even if you just stay empirical, literally, like the grand piano is going to have different weight of the keys. Okay, there's going to be different, thicknesses and density of the felt and so on. So there's going to be some variation introduced there. Another thing that I'm noticing from the critical incidences side, which, if you may recall, I'm proposing that we examine the internal elements going on, like introspection, essentially. And just to be perfectly honest with you right now, I'm feeling the onset of a depressive episode coming on. I can feel that I internally, I don't have great mental right now. I'm a little bit sad and I'm a little bit frustrated. And I feel a little misunderstood and somewhat, disposable because of circumstances at work right now. So these are important to recognize and identify and document because they are all influencing how the ideal form gets established, and also they are precursory to the expression nucleus, which will manifest immediately in real time as soon as we start playing the piece in front of the audience on concert night. So luckily, we're not quite there yet. The concert is basically a month from now, so we have 4 weeks to work on it, and hopefully I'll move through some of these emotions, and also solve some of the human factors elements. Like maybe we'll get to rehearse on campus on an actual grand piano, which would be extraordinarily beneficial just for learning the weight of the keys and so on. Hopefully my emotional state will improve, but just need to document where I'm at right now, because maybe another incident site of anomaly is that based on my affect, right, based on my mood, whether I'm pleased or displeased or whatever, aroused or not aroused, this will significantly influence perhaps how the ideal form gets established. And also it allows for little sites of anomaly to form. It's and I think part of the hypothesis here is that while a site of anomaly may exist, anomaly may not sort of manifest there. So there's areas where it can manifest, but it doesn't necessarily have to. So yeah, those are the two initial conditions: human factors condition the instrument, and the critical incident is my affect. And it seems like that's really all there is to recognize at the moment. A couple of other observations maybe would be valuable. So I'm noticing that my mom is singing very well, but there's these moments where she descends down in a major scale, and then there's this sort of little minor second interval that comes right after the descending major scale, and she's sort of anticipating the minor second before she gets there. And so she doesn't sing this sort of like major third interval that's directly preceding the minor second. It's like this really interesting sort of chromatic cadence figure. And she always sings the minor second first. So important to realize there that that's an area of incidence where there's an accident taking place, maybe, or it's a mistake. I think we can consider it a mistake because she's hearing the original recording but then not actually reproducing the original recording. So it seems like my mom has some agency there, which we can designate as a mistake. Okay, and then similarly for me, I'm learning the piano line from the recording, and I don't quite have all the interesting sort of jazzy suspension chords and extended chords and things. I don't have them quite down yet, so I'm realizing that my reproduction is quite simplistic, and I have a handful of errors as I'm learning these sort of descending and ascending, melodic contours. So there's a lot going on. I think my hypothesis that we examine these layers in the original form heuristic, I think it's working quite well because it's enabling me to have conversations around certain aspects of the learning process. Identifying instruments, identifying mood and emotion, looking at the difference between an accident and a mistake. So we're in the thick of it, and just wanted to document this and be able to write about it. Other than that, I think we're in great shape overall, but it's important to note these little minor things that may add up to some sort of live performance anomaly when we're actually performing. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of leave it there, and I'll record another one of these as we continue proceeding through our rehearsal and practice. So thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a comment. I would really appreciate comments and questions. So if you got this far in the video, thank you for sticking around. And please engage with me, because I need people to challenge my assumptions and give me pointers and opinions and different perspectives. This is all extremely important and necessary, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. So take care, and see you in the next video.